Hey student success, welcome back to your week 7 assignment videos. So I've already posted just the week 7 assignment, the digital library assignment video. So you want to check that out. This particular video is going to cover the other 2 assignments that are in here, chapter 5 assignment and the online learning right for you assignment. But as a reminder, all 3 need to be completed by Sunday for full weekly attendance. If you only submit 1 or 2, you'll get partial attendance. And then don't forget also that week 2 is reopening this coming weekend, and then week 8 is opening early Friday as well, because the semester ends on Friday, the 24th. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. We have a chapter 5 assignment. It's going to open up into a Word doc. This will look somewhat familiar. You've had something that looks very similar to this in the past. So chapter 5 is about, reading and vocabulary and trying to really make sure that we're getting the most out of our text as possible. So again, I will recommend that you spend time in the slides, the text, the lecture video, something to have that context. And you're going to look at these 3 areas of reading understanding, sometimes called comprehension, reading speed, and reading vocabulary. And what are 2 things that you can do in each of those areas to improve that component of reading? When will you take that action? And then how will you know it's accomplished? So for instance, what are 2 things you can do to help yourself understand what you read more? What are 2 things you can do to adjust your reading speed? That does not always mean make it faster, because sometimes we need to slow down. Sometimes we need to speed up. Sometimes we need to try to get moderated. So kind of think of it that way. It doesn't necessarily mean faster. And then your vocabulary, like building vocabulary. So 2 things to improve upon each of those 3 categories. When are you going to do that? Is it the next time you are in class, the next time you sit down to read on your own, the next time you sit down to read with a partner? And then how will you know your comprehension has improved? How will you know you're at a comfortable reading speed? And how will you know you have improved upon vocabulary? So that is the chapter 5 assignment. Just make sure that you save it and submit it inside the Dropbox for chapter 5. The other assignment that I'm talking about in this video is called the online learning assignment. So there's 2 parts to this. You're first going to take a short survey. You click on this and it's going to open up into a survey where you are just going to go through and answer the questions. There's about a dozen of them, dozen exactly. So you'll go through and you'll answer and you'll hit submit and you're going to get a score. That is what you're going to talk to me about. So you're not going to submit the survey. You're just going to basically come in here under the comment area. So you can do a file or a comment, and you're going to tell me, I scored a 24 out of 20, whatever, a 24, or I scored a 15, and I agree that online learning is good for me, or I disagree. So you're going to say whether you believe online learning is good for you or not, and why. So there's no going wrong with this as long as you give me your score and tell me if you agree with it or not, in the context of, is online learning a good fit for you? And I know we're in week 7, so maybe you could talk about how it wasn't a good fit in the beginning, but you've adjusted, or maybe you still really don't like online learning, or you've come to appreciate it. Whatever the case is, just talk about your score with the survey, and then if online learning is a good fit for you and why. Don't forget that, part about the why. And really honestly, a couple sentences, like 1 or 2 sentences will probably do the trick. So if you have questions on that, please let me know. So real quick, just as a reminder, please spend time in chapter 5, complete these 3 assignments by Sunday, take advantage of week 2 being reopened, take advantage of week 8 opening early, and reach out if you need anything. Have a great week.